Hi Tahi, hey Neomore. Hopefully both of you have behaved today. As for anyone else who may be watching this, welcome. I hope you've been enjoying the stories. Today's story is once again coming out of the Tales of King Arthur by James Riordan, illustrated by Victor Ambrose. We are actually almost done with the book, surprisingly. I know it seems like it's been quite a bit of time, but we're doing pretty well. Today's story, we are going to be talking about the adventures of Sir Galahad. So, right off the bat, you get to see a bit of the beautiful illustrations done in the book. Alright, so, the adventures of Sir Galahad. It happened many years later, when many brave deeds had been done and forgotten, that a fair gentlewoman came riding to court. It was the eve of White Sun, and all the fellowship of the Round Table was at Camelot. She rode into the hall and looked around at the many knights. Then, dismounting and saluting the king, she called, "Sire, tell me where I might find Sir Launcelot." "He is sitting over there," said Arthur, pointing to a place next to Perilles's seat. Going up to Sir Launcelot, the gentlewoman said, "Sir Launcelot, I bid you follow me, and do not tarry." Very curious, the bold knight asked her many questions, but she responded to all the same. "You shall know when you arrive." So Sir Launcelot mounted his horse and departed with the mystery woman. By and by, they came to an old abbey where a group of nuns were waiting eagerly to open the gates, evidently expecting them. Sir Launcelot was taken directly to the abbess, and while he was conversing with her, the door opened and in came a dozen nuns leading the fairest, finest-looking youth in all of Christendom. "Sir," said the abbess to Launcelot, "we ask you to make this boy a knight, for no man's hands are worthier than yours to invest upon him the noble order of knighthood." And all those stern ladies wept, for they knew they were soon to bid farewell to the boy they had cared for these 16 years gone past. Seeing the young squire before him as handsome as any young man he had ever seen, Sir Launcelot had a strange sense of seeing himself within the youth. After a moment's hesitation, he said, "So be it. Tomorrow at morning service he shall receive the high order of knighthood from my sword." After a good night's sleep in a hermitage near the abbey, Sir Launcelot rose at dawn, returned to the nuns, and made the boy a knight at the morning service. "God make you a good man," he said. "You are already the best in looks. Now let us ride together to Camelot." But the new king excused himself, promising he would be there at the appointed time. So Sir Launcelot, not new king, the new knight excused himself, promising he would be there at the appointed time. So Sir Launcelot returned alone to court to find all the knights assembled about the table ready to take their appointed places. Above every seat was written in golden letters a knight's name. Only the perilous seat, in which no one might sit save the one for whom it was intended, was bare. However, as every knight took his place, letters of gold suddenly appeared on the sacred seat. 500 years after the death of our Lord Jesus, this seat will be filled. All the company marveled at the sight, and Launcelot exclaimed, "The seat will surely be filled this very day, since this is a feast of Whitsunday, celebrating the coming of the Holy Ghost 500 years ago. Let us cover these letters until he comes who places it is." So they covered the perilous seat with the cloth silk to conceal the words. That done, King Arthur bade them all to sit down to supper. But before they could begin the meal, a squire entered and addressed the king. "Sire, sire, I bring you the strangest tidings." "What are they?" asked Arthur. "I have just seen a great stone," said the squire, "floating along the river beyond the castle, and in the stone was a sword." Sounds a little bit familiar. "I shall see this marvel for myself," decided King Arthur. And accompanied by all his knights, King Arthur went down to the river and there found, just as truly as he'd been told, a red marble stone floating upon the river close by the bank. And in the stone was a fine rich sword with the hilt of precious stone, and there were words inscribed upon the sword: "Never shall I be drawn, save by the best knight in all the world." When the king had read the words, he turned to Sir Launcelot. "Fair sir," he said, "this sword by right belongs to you, for you are the best knight known to man." But Sir Launcelot thought with shame of his love for Queen Guinevere, and shook his head. "Sire, this sword is not for me, nor am I worthy to wear it by my side. Bad luck will come to him who tries to draw that sword if he is unworthy. Of that I am sure." "Then, fair nephew," said the king to Sir Gawain, "you put your hands to withdraw it." But Sir Gawain too declined politely. So, in the picture that I showed earlier, we have, looks like Sir Gawain. Nope, maybe that's Sir Lancelot talking with a bunch of nuns. A picture of the perilous seat, along with the inscriptions, and then the sword in a floating red stone. This next picture, you see an old man leading a young man in red garbs. I'm assuming that is supposed to be Sir Galahad. Okay. So, where were we? At that, the king grew angry and commanded Gawain to try his hand. So Gawain took the mighty sword by the hilt and tried to pull it out, to no avail. "I thank you for trying nonetheless," said the king to Gawain. Then, at King Arthur's bidding, Sir Percival set his hand upon the sword and pulled with all his might, but he could not move it. Seeing that the two doubting knights had failed, no other knight dared set his hand to it, and the king did not oblige them. So the king and all the knights returned to court, and each one took his proper place until there remained but a single seat empty, and that was the Perilous. They had hardly put food in their mouth when a great rushing noise was heard throughout the castle, and all the doors and windows banged tight shut. Even so, more strangely, it was not dark at all. In the still hush that followed, there appeared an old man, clad in all white, leading a young knight, unarmed and dressed in red. "Peace be with you, fair lords," the ancient said. "I bring you a young knight of noble blood, a descendant of Joseph of Arimathea, he who brought Christ's cup, the Holy Grail, to Britain. With this night's coming, the glory of this court shall be complete." In the following silence, the old man led the younger up to the perilous seat next to Sir Launcelot, and drew aside the silken cloth so that all could clearly see the new letters written underneath. "This is the seat of Galahad, the High Prince." "Sir," said the old man, "as you see, the seat is yours." As the youthful figure calmly took his seat, he said quietly to the old man, "Holy father, you may now go on your way in peace, for you have done what you were told to do. Pray bear my best wishes to my grandfather, King Pelham, and say that I shall come again to see him soon." So the old man departed the way he had come, while all the other knights at the Round Table marveled that the young knight dared sit there quite unharmed. Many remarked on how closely he resembled Sir Launcelot, and the Queen approached to take a better look. "I may well suppose," she said, "that this is the boy King Pellam's daughter Elaine bore. This is Launcelot's child. Never two men resembled one another more." Sir Launcelot looked fondly upon the young man, realizing now that it was his son Galahad, the very lad he dubbed knight the day before. "Welcome, my son, to Camelot," he proudly said. "Upon my life, you are certainly destined for great adventures."
Hi, Dickie. I miss you.
When the meal was over, and all had risen from the table, King Arthur led Galahad from the castle to the river bank, and pointed to the sword in the floating slab of marble. "Here is a great wonder as I have ever seen," King Arthur said. "Two brave knights have tried and failed to draw the sword." "Sire," replied Sir Galahad, "that is not surprising, since the adventurer is not theirs but mine. As you see, I wear no sword with my scabbard, for I knew well that I should find one waiting for me." So saying, he put his hand upon the sword's hilt and lightly drew it out. "Now I have the sword that once belonged to the good knight Sir Balin," with which he struck the unhappy blow against his beloved brother Balin. "Pray God it will now be put to better use. We must celebrate this happening in joust and tourney," said the king. "I wish to see you all together in the meadow beyond the castle, so that after our deaths men will say that on this day never were so many brave knights together in a tournament." Thus, at King Arthur's behest, they all brought their horses and weapons to the jousting meadows. But there was another purpose for the tournament, to see Sir Galahad a proven knight. King Arthur felt it right that no one should enter the court without displaying his prowess in the field. Though he accepted a lance gratefully from Sir Gawain, the young Galahad declined an offer of a shield. As the queen with all her ladies watched from within a wooden pavilion, Sir Galahad rode forth to fight. He took his place in the very center of the meadow, breaking spears with all who came, so skillful that everyone admired him. Shieldless though he was, he vanquished all knights in jousting, all save Sir Launcelot and Percival, with whom he did not fight. As dusk began to fall, King Arthur led his knights back to the castle, and after Eversong, they took their place once again around the table. King Arthur looked about him. "This," he said, "is the finest hour of Logres. There now sits at the Round Table the fairest fellowship of knights the world will ever see." Even as he spoke, they heard a mighty peal of thunder that shook the castle, and in the midst of the thunder a ray of light illuminated the hall, so that it was brighter by 7 times than the clearest day. All knew at once that they were in the presence of the Holy Ghost, and as they looked around, they saw each other more clearly than they had ever seen before. Yet, strangely, none could speak. It was as if they were all struck dumb. Then the Holy Grail entered the hall, covered with a white samite cloth, so that none could see the vessel clearly or what was in it. The Grail moved along as if borne by invisible hands, and all the hall was filled with the more savory odors, so that every knight imagined he had partaken of his favorite meat and drink. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, the holy vessel was gone, and the knight regained his speech. King Arthur was first to break the awesome silence. "We must thank the Lord for the vision he had granted us this day at the high festival of Pentecost. He has shown us that there are even greater glories still to seek. Though we felt the presence of the Holy Grail, we did not see it truly, or its contents, since it was veiled from us. Now must begin the quest for the Holy Grail, for it is our fate and honor to go forth in search of this holy vessel." At these words, all the knights stood up and vowed that they would not cease from the quest until one among them was successful. "Alas," King Arthur said, "this quest will deprive me of the finest fellowship that was ever seen together in my realm. As I think of that, it makes me sad, for I have loved you all as I do myself." And the tears rolled down his cheek. Next morning, all the knights met in the chapel at the Castle Camelot to renew their vows afresh before departing in ones and twos, taking the roads that each liked best in quest of the Holy Grail. Sir Galahad rode on his way alone for 4 days without adventure. On the 5th day he came to a white-painted abbey, where he was received most hospitably. He was led into a chamber in which the knight of King Arthur's court, Sir Bagdemus, already sat at the two knights ate their supper. Sir Galahad asked what had brought the others. "Sir," he replied, "I have heard that within the holy place is a shield that no man may bear." In this photo, you see Sir Galahad on his horse during the jousting tournament. If you notice, once again, no shield, and in this photo, it doesn't even look like he's wearing armor of any type.
It looks like what they have at the gym when they do stick fighting.
No, the lances were usually really big, long poles of wood with metal tips at the end.
So what you basically use for fencing.
No. It's a big, giant wooden spear, pretty much. This is a picture of two knights with the monk, and the shield that is said was unable to be borne by anyone. And when I mean born, I don't mean born like a baby. I mean it cannot sit there and be worn or anything like that. Yeah, I think born's the right word. See. Without encountering misadventures within 3 days. But I hear too that whoever wears that shield shall gain the Holy Grail. Tomorrow I will try my fortune. Pray wait for me here, and if I do not succeed, you shall try yourself." Sir Galahad readily agreed, since he had no shield himself. So early next morning they had mass together before this. Sir Bagdemus asked, I can't stop yawning. See.
So he's probably yawning, so he's giving you through the camera.
So asked the monk to show him the faded shield. At once the two knights were led behind an altar where the shield was hung. It was white as the wind-blown snow, with a red cross in the center. "Sir," said the monk, "I should warn you that this shield may only be worn by the most worthy knight in Christendom. No other knight should touch it." "Well," said Sir Bignum, "I know well that I am not the best knight living, Yet I shall try to win it all the same." With that, he took up the shield, mounted his horse, and rode off in the company of his squires. When the two had passed 2 miles, and were riding through the fair green valley, they suddenly saw a knight in white armor bearing down on them, his lance set ready. So Bagdemagus saw a knight in So Bagdemagus likewise rode to meet the charge, but was run through the shoulder by the other lance, and knocked senseless to the ground. "Sir Knight," the white knight said, "you have done yourself great harm in taking up this shield. It should be borne only by him who has no living peer." And so Sir Ba- oh, Sir Bagdemagus, "Squires," he said, "take your master back to the abbey, and give this shield to the good knight Sir Galahad with my compliments." When the young squire made so bold as to ask his name, the white knight grew angry. "Take no heed of my name," he roared. "It is not for you or any earthly man to know." So the squire set the badly wounded Bagdemagus upon his horse, and led him slowly back to the abbey, where he was laid gently in bed, and had his wounds attended to. And he lay there a long time before he was fully healed. Meanwhile, the squire handed Galahad the shield, telling him of what the white knight had said, that the shield belonged to him, and him alone. "Blessed be the good fortune it brings me," called Sir Galahad, and rode off through the valley. In a while he came to the glade where the white knight stood waiting, and the two saluted each other. "Tell me, sir," cried Galahad, "the story of this shield that I bear." Oh, my back.
So you said the shield is as white as snow?
Yes.
How many layers are there?
Hmm.
I hate the snow!
She really isn't as funny as she thinks she is. Well, that shield was made for Joseph of Arimathea in the city of Saras near Jerusalem at the time Lord Jesus Christ was crucified, the white knight said. When he left the Holy Land, Joseph came to Britain and brought the white shield with him. As he lay dying some years later, he drew a cross upon the shield on his own blood, and bequeathed it to Nasian the hermit. Since then the holy shield had hung behind the altar in the abbey, awaiting your coming. Sir Galahad, last in line of Joseph's descendant. With that, the white knight rode away, and was never seen again. Sir Galahad, meanwhile, rode off on his adventure, and shortly came to the parting of ways where there stood a signpost saying, "Knight errant, choose now your way. To the right is your journey's end without adventure. To the left is your goals hard won." Oh, tired. There we go, that's a little better. I apologize for the mess. Got some new dresses today and been rearranging and reorganizing everything. Hopefully we can get that taken care of soon. Right. So, Sir Galahad did not hesitate. He took the left-hand path and soon came to a thicket just in time to see a strange knight strike down Sir Melius, one of the companies of the Round Table. With a cry, Sir Galahad charged down to the strange knight, and as they clashed, his lance went through the other's shoulder, knocking him from his horse. At that instant, A second knight flew at Galahad from the trees and attacked him from behind, but Galahad turned just in time and with his trusty sword cut off the man's left arm before the traitor turned and fled. After attending to Sir Melias, Sir Galahad went on his way, yet he had not ridden half a mile when he espied into a valley before him a strong castle with deep moats, and there beside it, a wide river running. As he rode towards the castle, he was met by an old man whom he asked for the castle's name. "Fair sir," the old man said, "this is the Castle of Weeping Maidens." "That is a most strange name," said Sir Galahad. "Tell me, why is it called so?" "Though I shall tell you," said the man, "if you heed my words you will turn back. Some years ago the Duke of Leonore was master of this castle and all the lands. Then one day 7 cavalry knights, all brothers, came here and were welcomed most hospitably, as is our custom. But those evil men had designs on the Duke's lovely daughter, and they killed the Duke and his son, and took the maiden and the castle for themselves. Ever since they took the prettiest maiden's daughters. Now you know why it is called the Castle of Weeping Maidens." "Is the Duke's daughter still inside the castle?" Sir Galahad asked. "No, sir," said the man and saw. "She died within 3 days of being taken." Sir Galahad was enraged at what he'd heard and vowed to take revenge, freeing the poor people from their tyrants. "Go forthwith to the castle," he said, "and inform those 7 knights that Sir Galahad came to fight them." I am so tired all of a sudden. Hate when that happens. Not long after the old man had disappeared into the castle, the 7 knights emerged, riding hard towards Sir Galahad. "Would you fight me alone?" shouted Galahad to them. "Yes," replied those cowardly men. "Thereby we are sure to win." Sir Galahad set to his lance, and as one met 7, he knocked the nearest brother to the ground and broke his neck. The 2 others struck him on the shield in passing, so hard their lances snapped. Before they could recover, he ran them through as he wheeled about. Then dismounting, he drew his sword and set about the 4 remaining men so fiercely. It was a wonder just to see his flashing blade. With his own sacred shield to protect him, he suffered not one cut, but in no time at all the last 4 knights were lying dead upon the field. I just lost the space. Oh no! So dead upon the field. His deed accomplished, Sir Galahad entered the gate of the Weeping Maiden Castle, and saw more maidens in its courtyard than he could count.
Night.
All good night.
Night, Dickie. Love you.
All cheered and shouted to him, "Welcome, bold Sir Galahad! We have long awaited our deliverance." When he was assured of their safety, Sir Galahad bade farewell and went on his way in search of the Holy Grail. He rode on through forest and valley, over plains and moors, encountering a host of brave adventurers, until one day he saw a uh, damsel riding towards him, crying, "Sir Galahad, you have come at last, as I knew you would. Leave your horse for nearby." Leave your horse for nearby in the sea at Galahad. A ship awaits to take you and two more of King Arthur's knights to the place of the Holy Grail. Faithfully obeying her instructions, Sir Galahad went on foot down to the shore to join the waiting ship, and thence began his last and greatest adventure in the quarters of the Holy Grail. So the picture shows Sir Galahad along with another knight during the middle of the jousting. Alright. In this next picture, Galahad dealt his father, Sir Lancelot, a blow that knocked him to the ground. Alright. And that was the story of Sir Galahad. I really didn't get into a whole lot of adventuring there, but it wasn't bad. The next story is going to be the quest for the Holy Grail, and maybe we'll add another one afterwards. But right now, I am completely exhausted. Earlier today, your sisters had a tournament. They did pretty good. I mean, they didn't really win their fights, but I personally feel some of the refs were being, or at least were showing favoritism for the fighters of the other gym. Yes.
Nothing.
Alright. But when it comes to fighting, there's three things that I think are extremely important. It is your timing, your distance, and speed. So, timing, yeah, my brain is not working. Timing, distance, and position. These are the three key things to any martial aspect. The timing is best way to explain when if the best time or best moment of opportunity for you to land a successful blow. So, for example, if the person is getting ready to throw a big roundhouse kick, as soon as you see that foot, the perfect time is when he starts setting his weight on that back leg, and so you attack the back leg. That is just an example of timing. It refers to when the most optimal option or path is done. Sometimes it could be in the middle of punches that you counter with the knee or something like that. As for distance, well, distance is important to any fight, simply due to the fact that if I'm trying to fight someone and they're halfway across the ring or cage or halfway across the room, you throwing punches is not going to do anything but tire you out. So it's very important to know your distance, how far your reach is. That tells you how close you have to get. It's very important to know your own distance, and develop an awareness of the area around you.
Also, while I was trying to find something, this letter from
Okay.
Yeah, pet.
Alright. And now for the last one, we did
Grappling?
distance, timing, and positioning. Positioning is one of the most vital aspects because if you throw the wrong technique or you try to use a technique but you're in a bad position, it almost guarantees that you're going to fail. So trying to complete stuff without proper body positioning means you're going to have to work harder than what is necessary. You're going to have to work away, and sometimes a lot of people just try to muscle their way through. That is not the path to go. Oh, there's a lot to martial arts that most people don't even know exist. The depth, the calculations. But anyways, I digress. I am exhausted and I need to lay down because today was a big day. Your sisters fought in a tournament. In the tournament. Unfortunately, none of them really won, like I said, but they all put on a pretty strong showing. Also, I fought today, which was surprising to me that I was even fighting. Pretty much what happened was that I walked into the gym. Coach GM told me to jump on the scale, and when I got done weighing myself, I was told I needed to sign up for the MMA events. So that's what happened. I am exhausted from that fight, though. Well, I need to get a couple more stuff done before being able to relax and lay down. Dahi, love you and I miss you. Anyone who's watching this, thank you for taking the time, and I hope you've enjoyed this. We are almost done with the Tale of King Arthur. Now I'm trying to debate on what books or book series to start reading next. If there's any suggestions, feel free to comment, and then if you like this stuff, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, whatever. Not trolling for likes or what have not. It's just kind of nice to know that somebody appreciates it. Alright, that being said, love you, Dahi. Everyone else, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed.